In a Tokyo bunker, Japanese high command faced their darkest moment. Generals who once promised victory now whispered the unthinkable truth. One officer broke down, admitting they'd known defeat was coming since Midway. Another revealed the empire's resources were completely exhausted. But the most shocking part? Senior commanders debated sacrificing millions more just to avoid the word surrender. Their actual words from those secret meetings reveal a terrifying glimpse into how far desperation can push military leadership. And what they said about the atomic bombs wasn't what you think. The Silent Room. Tokyo, August 1945. Deep underground in a concrete bunker, Japanese high command gathered around a large wooden table. Maps covered every surface. Red marks showed lost territories everywhere. The room smelled of cigarette smoke and fear. General Anami sat at the head of the table. His face was pale. Dark circles hung under his eyes. He hadn't slept in 3 days. Around him, admirals and generals waited in silence. Everyone knew why they were there, but nobody wanted to say it first. Outside, American B-29 bombers flew overhead. The sound of air raid sirens echoed through the city. Tokyo was already destroyed. Hiroshima was gone. Nagasaki had just fallen. The empire was burning. One general finally spoke. His voice cracked. "Gentlemen," he said quietly, "we need to discuss the reality of our situation." His hands trembled as he pointed at the map. What he said next would shock everyone in that room. But first, they needed to confront what they'd been hiding. The forbidden truth. Admiral Unai stood up slowly. He was older than the others, more experienced. He'd fought in World War I. His uniform was covered in medals. But today, those medals felt heavy. "We've been lying," he said bluntly. The room froze. Other officers looked shocked. You couldn't say things like that. Not about the emperor. Not about Japanin. But Unai continued anyway. "We've known since Midway we couldn't win." His words hung in the air. Midway was 3 years ago. 3 years of fighting. 3 years of deaths. All for nothing? The generals stared at each other. One younger officer jumped to his feet. "That's treason!" he shouted. His hand moved toward his sword. But Unai didn't flinch. He'd expected this reaction. He pulled out a folder. Inside were reports. Secret reports. Numbers and charts. The real numbers they'd hidden from everyone. And those numbers revealed something even worse. The hidden numbers. Unai spread the papers across the table. His fingers pointed to different columns. "Look at the facts," he said firmly. "Our Navy is destroyed. We have 12 carriers left. America has 99. The officers leaned forward. They'd never seen these real numbers before. The propaganda always said Japan was winning. Radio broadcasts claimed great victories. Newspapers showed heroic battles. But these papers told a different story. "Our oil reserves," Unai continued, "almost zero. Our pilots? We're sending teenagers with 40 hours of training. America sends veterans with 300 hours. He slammed his fist on the table. We're losing 5 planes for every one of theirs." General Umezu, the army chief, went red in the face. "We still have the spirit of Bushido," he argued. "1 Japanese soldier equals 10 Americans." But Unai shook his head. Spirit couldn't stop bullets. Courage couldn't sink battleships. Then someone mentioned the unthinkable weapon. "The atomic bomb," whispered General Kawabe. Everyone fell silent again. Hiroshima had vanished in one flash. 1 bomb, 1 city. Gone. 80,000 people dead in seconds. Nothing left but shadows burned into walls. "They have more," Kawabe said quietly. Intelligence reports sat in front of him. "Our spies say America has at least 7 more bombs ready." He paused. Let that sink in. 7 more cities could disappear. Millions more could die. A younger general spoke up. His voice was defiant. "Then we fight to the last man. We make them pay for every inch of Japan." Others nodded. The samurai code demanded it. Death before dishonor. Never surrender. But Admiral Toyota cut him off. "And then what?" he asked coldly. "We all die? Every Japanese person dies? For what? For pride?" The room went quiet. Nobody had an answer. The thought was too terrible. But the Emperor's message was about to change everything. The Emperor's words. A door opened. Everyone stood immediately. An imperial messenger entered. He wore formal robes, white gloves. He carried a sealed envelope with the Emperor's personal seal, red wax, the chrysanthemum symbol pressed into it. The messenger's hands shook as he broke the seal. He read slowly, carefully, every word from Emperor Hirohito himself. "The war situation has developed not necessarily to Japan's advantage," the message began. Everyone understood. The Emperor never spoke directly. This was his way of saying they'd lost. But there was more. The Emperor talked about the cruel bomb. He mentioned the suffering of his people. He spoke of enduring the unendurable. The meaning was clear. He wanted surrender. Not death, not destruction, surrender. General Anami closed his eyes. Tears ran down his cheeks. For a Japanese general to cry? Unthinkable. But these were unthinkable times. His whole world was ending. Everything he believed, everything he fought for, gone. Yet, some generals had other plans. The rebels. Not everyone agreed. A group of younger officers stood together, led by Major Hatanaka. Their eyes burned with fury. "This is cowardice," Hatanaka shouted. His voice echoed off the concrete walls. "We can still win," another officer yelled. "We have 2 million soldiers ready to defend the homeland. We'll turn every beach into a graveyard." They wanted Operation Ketsu-Go, the final plan. Every civilian becomes a soldier. Every woman, every child. Fight with bamboo spears if necessary. General Anami listened, but said nothing. He understood their passion. Once he felt the same way. But he'd seen the reports, the real reports. America was preparing Operation Downfall. 3 million troops ready to invade. More atomic bombs ready to drop. The death toll would be unimaginable. "We must protect the Emperor," Anami said finally. His voice was tired, defeated. "If we keep fighting, the Americans might remove him, or worse." That stopped the rebels. The Emperor was everything. Then came the most shocking confession of all, the secret calculation. Prime Minister Suzuki stood slowly. He was 77 years old, the oldest man in the room. He'd survived an assassination attempt in 1936. Bullets were still lodged in his body. He knew about sacrifice. "Gentlemen," Suzuki began. His voice was barely a whisper. Everyone leaned in. "I must tell you something terrible." He pulled out another document. Top secret. Eyes only. "We calculated the cost of continuing." The numbers were horrific. If Japan kept fighting, military analysts predicted 20 million Japanese deaths, maybe more. The Soviets had just invaded Manchuria. America would invade from the south. Japan would be crushed between two giants, burned, bombed, starved, destroyed completely. "But if we surrender now," Suzuki continued, "most of Japan survives. The emperor survives. Our culture survives. We lose the war, but save the nation." His logic was cold, mathematical, but true. Some officers looked away. Others nodded slowly. And what happened next shocked the world. The final decision. August 14, 1945. The decision was made. Emperor Hirohito would record a surrender message. His voice would broadcast across Japan, the first time most Japanese people would hear him speak. But some generals couldn't accept it. General Anami went home that night. He sat in his traditional room, wrote final letters to his family. Then, following the ancient samurai code, he committed seppuku, ritual suicide. He died believing he failed his emperor. Many other officers followed. Hundreds chose death over surrender. Major Hatanaka and his rebels tried a coup. They stormed the palace, searched for the emperor's recording, wanted to destroy it, stop the surrender. But they failed. The recording was hidden, protected. On August 15th, it played across every radio in Japan. The war was over. Japan had lost, but the nation survived. Today, historians still debate those final days. Were they heroes or villains? Brave or foolish? One thing is certain. What they said in that bunker changed history forever.
Japan's defeat in the Pacific War revealed how Japanese high command knew their military strategy failed long before Emperor Hirohito's surrender speech. The Japanese reaction to losing the war showed both honor and denial. From Pacific War turning points like Midway to Japan losing to America in WWII, their wartime communications exposed the truth. The Japanese military surrender and Japan WWII surrender announcement ended the conflict, but those final statements from Japan's end of war still echo today.